Hello. So let's see. I think I gave the YouTube link, but I need to give you the Hangout one so that everyone can speak. Let me find the links. That's not the one I want. Here, okay.
Hi.
Hi, Cathy. So you're the first one to join, and Clément is here too. Hi, Clément.
I'm going to tweet also the link so everybody knows about it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I gave the wrong one actually. So you're the first one to join, and Clément is here too. Hi, Clément.
I'm going to tweet also the link so everybody knows about it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I gave the wrong one actually. It's very strange, Cathy. Clément is here too. I can hear myself speaking after 5 seconds delay.
Also the link so everybody knows about it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I gave the wrong one actually. That's weird. Okay, Keith. Hi, Keith.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Cool. Cool that you're able to join.
Good.
So let's see if we have everyone who said that they would join. But I'm really glad that we have someone who is not one of the committers, so that we have some users. That's great. Let's see. Okay, so let's maybe let's start and introduce ourselves a bit. Keith, do you want to start, because we don't know you so well. The other we work a bit together, so we know each other. Maybe you want to introduce yourself quickly. You're on mute.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Keith Davis. I'm an IT director and senior developer for a company called Pride Incorporated, as well as I do quite a bit of freelancing. And we use XWiki internally for internally my IT department to manage most of our documentation. It's purely an internal tool for us. And because of that, or I don't know if that's really the reason, but for whatever reason, we don't do a whole lot of customization with XWiki. We really just depend upon it to work. There was a time when we first rolled the product out that we really struggled with it, but right now it's become, in fact, we almost moved away from it a couple of years ago because we had trouble with upgrades and such. But right now the product's really solid for us. Like I said, it's integral to what we do. But at this point, we're almost purely user. I don't do really hardly any customization, other than I may do some stuff now that y'all are using CK Editor. I was really excited about that part because we use that in our web development as well. And so I'm very familiar with that module.
Okay, that's cool. So you said you've been using it for a while already, a few years ago?
We've been using it, I don't know the number of years. We've been using it, I think, since like version 4 or 5.
Well, that's pretty old, yes.
Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's let me I know the rest. Let me introduce them, or maybe Guy, you want to introduce yourself quickly. So I see that there is Clément, there is Cathy, and there is Eddie and myself. So we are all developers and committers on the XWiki project. We also are employees of a company called XWiki SAS that is based in France and in Romania. So this company is sponsoring us to also work on the open source project. And we are doing that on an everyday basis. Clément actually joined us as an intern, but he's now left. So now he's an external contributor and an external committer to the project. So guys, if you want to say something, don't hesitate. What I'm personally interested in, and everyone can say what they're interested in, would be to know more about what are the pain points today, Keith, of using XWiki. What do you think is the thing that are the least easy to do? And whether you've got some ideas, requests, suggestions for the future of stuff that we could do, or whether you would be interested in knowing some of the new features that we are developing. I can also do that. Basically, this is the first meeting we're doing, so we can make it the way whatever we want it to be. So feel free to say what you're interested in from this meeting.
Okay, just to know. So, hi, I'm Kathy. Hi, Kate. Since you're the only one that is not regular with us, that's why we all jump on you. But you're feeling scared. I'm most excited that we have this meeting, and I'm sure that we, I don't know, pick another time or we advertise it more people will be here. But it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Keith, so first, I'm interested is why did you pick XWiki? Because there are a lot of wikis out there. Do you see anything special with it that differentiates it from others, or why did I mean there are a lot of well-known ones, like Confluence is a well-known one, or MediaWiki or DocuWiki, or I don't know.
Right, and we actually were on MediaWiki for I don't know, a year or two. And the main thing, because we're not developing or not using XWiki for external customers, we just need it to work. And we need certain things about how it works when we do in our documentation. And the biggest thing for us was, well, I guess there were two big things. One is the ease of creating documentation that's formatted. And so like having a WYSIWYG editor was something we really wanted to have. We're not concerned about, as some people might be, if how well the back end or that code is written. We don't care. We're just
Sure.
using the documentation.
Sure.
So we needed a WYSIWYG. We really wanted a WYSIWYG editor. And MediaWiki, they've got a new version that's been working on that for a long time, but there's nothing in production yet that does that. And there are very few wiki systems out there, at least that I'm familiar with. And we tested a bunch at one point, just looking to see what's available, even to see if we could possibly roll our own plugin or something to do WYSIWYG. We never found anything. So XWiki was that was the big thing. Also, just the ease of being able to add attachments and images, things that are critical for the kind of documentation that we do, and to ease our workflow. And so we went with XWiki primarily for that. Over time, it's also proved to be, for the most part, fairly maintenance free, which is also a big deal for us, again, because we're consumers of it. But as I said, we've run into issues along the way where, we've almost moved away for difficulties with upgrades, which we can talk more about later. But overall, the ease of use has improved to the point of right now where, there's a couple of issues. We've got one open issue about, may or may not be familiar with the whole thing in Chrome. If you paste an image that doesn't have a file name, it overwrites the previous image. We've got an issue open for that, but for the most part, that's, it works really well for us. And we feel like that it provides everything we need. And we like the direction. I personally, as a developer, like the direction you're going. I'm not a Java developer. I've done a little Java, but I like the direction you're going with utilizing proven components like CK Editor that I am familiar with. So if I do want to do something in that realm, I'm going to be much more comfortable with it.
Yeah, so I guess, we had the GWT editor back then that you've experienced, and then we're on CK now. So you guys are using the WYSIWYG editor. You're not using wiki markup, wiki syntax at all?
Not really. I mean, only when we need to make, sometimes, CK Editor does have its limitations. And there will be times, and I can do a little markup editing. I'll do a little bit just try to fix things, or sometimes CKEditor it'll just screw things up. It just can't handle certain structures, and so we will. But for the most part, again, we're trying to write and consume the documentation, and we do a lot of it. So that's generally all we use.
Okay. Since you've been using it for a few years now, have you ever tried to create your own small application, like with using application within minutes, to create some small structure in the wiki and be able to have some forms and have your user enter some data in forms or this kind of thing?
No, we haven't. I've looked at some of that a couple of times because it's primarily used in the IT department. We haven't really had a need for that. If we are ever to move towards using XWiki for the rest of our users, there would certainly be opportunities for us to use that. It's nice to know it has that capability, but we also do our own. We're developers ourselves, so most of the stuff we write or build applications in is in PHP, and so that's generally what we stick with. But if we were, for example,
that would be for some elaborate things, But if you need something quick and fast, The reason I'm mentioning this is because this is one of the differentiator of XWiki versus other wikis, and they don't have that. This ability to create your structure inside the wiki and be able to enter structured data directly from the wiki. Okay, guys. Anyone wants to talk a bit? Clément, I see you want to talk. Sorry, you're mute, I think. I can't hear you.
Yeah, like that?
Yeah, better.
Maybe like that. Okay. Yeah. Well,
so you're now a user also from the outside, and you're not from XWiki side, so you can see XWiki as a user maybe or more.
I know a couple of users that were using XWiki like since the version 1.6, I think.
Wow.
And I know that what they're. I talked with them like I think 2 days ago, and they had a lot of troubles like getting on with working with the platform. I don't know if it's the same for you, Keith, but maybe it's not that big of a problem for you because they really tried to make customizations to the platform, like creating applications, etc., using the wiki syntax to do multiple things. But what they said is that sometimes it's really hard to begin with this kind of tools. Understanding the concept of XWiki is it's maybe something that is not like trivial for everyone, and that's it.
You mean concept of objects, classes, sheets, and this kind of thing? Yeah. Well, there are various types of users for sure. There's those who just use the wiki and the features that there, and then those who want to extend it. No, but what is interesting is that if we look from where we started, XWiki has always been a very extensible wiki where you could do a lot of things if you knew how to do it. But on the other hand, we've been quite bad on the usability aspect, like using it out of the box as a product. I think we were lagging quite behind other tools. We've been trying to catch up on this for a few years now, working a lot on usability and UI. And what Keith is saying is that they're just using it like this, and I think he said that it's improving. So we're probably going in the right direction there. And that's the hardest thing for us, because we have the power beneath, but simplifying this power to make a UI that's also simple to use for the user is the hard part.
Yeah.
I'm curious to ask Keith what extensions is he using, and if you tried the new flavor concept we added, and if he knows about the flavor thing we added in version 9.6.
I guess I'm not sure what you mean, because we're using what's called standard flavor. We upgraded from XWiki Enterprise and we were switched to standard flavor. They're saying there's other flavors besides that?
Flavor, that's right. We now have, it's the same thing. Well, basically, XWiki Standard is the new name for XWiki Enterprise. But there are extensions that exist on that you can install in your wiki, additional extensions that you can find on extensions.xwiki.org website, and you can find them in the extension manager inside your wiki. So the question was whether you had installed some of them. Yeah, we do. We use the LDAP authenticator. We're using Active Directory, so we use that for authentication. What else do we use in here? The syntax highlighting application, although we really haven't used that much. We installed that. We didn't really. Which is bundled by default now, yeah, in the latest version. Yeah. Oh, okay. Of course, CK Editor, which is a default. Those are really the big ones for us. We've looked at some other stuff and at times and not really moved forward with anything else. Again, we don't use anything too complex right now. The big thing for us is that the documentation is easy to write and easy, to edit, as well as easy to read. And so, and to your point earlier, Vincent, you were talking about how that was not really your focus early on, and that actually explains a few things, because in the beginning I really felt like it was very difficult just as a user to use it, upgrade it, and stuff like that. And I think we even had a few words a couple of times when I got kind of upset. You may not remember this, but I sent an email out. Really, I was like, "Where is this in the documentation? I can't find this." And anyway, we got through all that. But today, it's most of the time, upgrades, even major release upgrades, go very smoothly. There are still a few issues with, we've got pages like, for example, that history they can't be restored. We can't figure that out, but it's nothing that's been so major. It's not causing us big problems. I would say in the last year to 2 years, the big thing for me is I weigh it versus how much time am I having to spend on maintenance, fixing problems, and upgrades, right? Yeah. And that has decreased significantly over the last 2 years. Okay, that's good. Good to hear. And we're quick adopters too. I'm that with just about everything. I generally upgrade within a week or two of each release that y'all put out. Okay, so you're not on LTS. You're actually on the latest, like 9.5, not 4, 9.4, 9.5, something. We are on 9.7. 9.7. Wow, that's cool. 9.7 has been out about what, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, something like this. Yeah. Yes. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, the point about flavors was that flavors could be a possibility for us to simplify, and in use case like his, when he doesn't do customizations and he uses it more as a documentation, we could have a flavor for that, which would be simpler for him. Yeah.
Okay.
That's our idea, is that we've noticed that sometimes people install XWiki, but they don't know what to do with it. And they don't know how to get started. They don't know what to do. And that's because there are lots of use cases, and the generic wiki that we offer is generic. It's not for a specific use case. So you can use it for developing an intranet, or for a website, or for knowledge base, for various usages. And we thought that we could direct our users more by providing flavors. That means when they start XWiki the first time, they would get to choose what they want their wiki to be. And that would install a bunch of extensions related to that use case, and that would help them be more directed towards what to do in their wiki. That's the idea of flavors.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at that on the website right now. I guess I just didn't know, because we started off with this application, or the wiki we're using, however many years ago that was, and we've just upgraded every time since. So, right. Like when y'all have introduced things like this, we just don't see them, because we've been building on this same XWiki for probably 4 or 5 years now, however long it's been.
Yeah, but anyway, there's only one flavor at the moment. So, well, there are two. There is the main one called standard, and there is a demo one, but it's just a demo one. So you wouldn't be interested by that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Eddie, you want to mention something?
Yeah,
I don't really have anything to add. Actually, the only thing I would be a bit curious from Keith again, since he's interviewed here, would be on the basic content editing part, and specifically, it's something in the back of my mind for a long time, the locking system of the document. How well do you fare with the fact that basically you have to stand in line to edit the document? How problematic is that for you?
That's not really an issue for us. I mean, I realize, I deal with those kind of situations when I'm doing development as well, and there are different ways to go about that. Because even though we generate a high volume of documentation, we tend to be working on different projects we rarely are overlapping. And even if we are, we're sharing that information with each other internally before we put it in the document. So that's not really been an issue for us. There've been a couple of times here and there where that's come up. But actually, with some of the forms I developed for my internal users, we use the same mechanism, and they don't have a problem with it either. So I don't think that's a bad way. I think that, of course, obviously, if you have high volume where you're having lots of people in the same documents, that's an issue. The other thing we tend to break our documents up into very small pieces. I'm not a fan of huge scrolling documents. Even if you've got a good table of contents, they just tend to become unwieldy to edit and manage, and information gets lost. And so we tend to break it up in a lot of pieces. So we have lots of small pages for the most part. I've got some that just are a nightmare, but for the most part, we break it in small pieces, which probably mitigate that factor you're talking about. I'm sure at higher volume, some people, that becomes more of an issue.
By the way, did you know, Keith, that we have a real-time editor, a real-time WYSIWYG editor? I mean, adding a real-time feature on top of CK Editor?
No, I did not know that.
We've got an extension for that. That means it doesn't lock. There is no locking at all. Okay. And you can be editing in real time with several people on the same page, and you see their changes happening on the screen simultaneously. So that's also quite cool.
Regarding the thing that you don't know about the features, do you have any proposal on how to solve that? I mean, when you upgrade or install, should we have like a model that displays new features, or should we maybe better communicate them, or I don't know. I mean, there are over 600 extensions, so I understand the problem, but maybe ideas to solve it?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question is, how could we make sure you know more about the features we have? I mean, maybe communicate them.
Okay, that's a good question, actually, Kathy. Keith, are you looking at the release notes?
I was actually looking at this extension you were just talking about.
Oh,
talking about when they come out. I do, not as much as I should. I tend to rely on, right now, I'm so thrilled y'all picked up Discourse for the forum, or for the discussion. That to me is a tool I use in other areas. It works great. I have it in mailing list mode, so I get every single post that goes on it, and that's been tremendously helpful in getting key mean the stuff that I didn't know existed, or with issues that have come out, or allowing us to discuss those things. That's been very helpful. I think that is a good point, because I did not know about the extension that Vincent was just talking about, and that's certainly something we can use. I'm going to look into using that.
Okay, but But now that we've moved to Discourse, whenever we release a new version of an extension, we publish it there as an announcement. So right. I guess from now on you will get those.
Yeah.
So that's cool already. But yeah, Kathy, for your point, we could have when you upgrade, having a wizard that opens up and with having a screen with major new stuff listed, which could be similar to the release notes. Something, I guess we could have that. It's a bit of work though to do that properly.
And also on Discourse, maybe when we release a new version for the applications, we could put also a screenshot for people that don't click the link to the extension. Maybe that would help.
Screenshots are always nice, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not part of our process, so yeah, maybe.
Well, right now we're supposed to put an announcement whenever we release a new version. Yes. Then some people will put a screenshot. I'm trying to do that also, but not always. But I guess we should try to have screenshots. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Someone? Any thoughts? Anything? Okay. We can. Anything that anyone from here would like to see about XWiki in the future? Would like to do or work on, or I don't know. Personally, I think we need to continue going into the improving the UI and the user experience. I think that's still the key point number one. What I'm always surprised, as I mentioned to some of you already, is that if you look, is that we should have a lot more installs of XWiki over the world than that we have at the moment. We have about 5,000 active installs or something like this, which is not bad. I mean, some of these installs are quite large, but we should be at ideally we should be at 40,000. And I think one of the reasons is that we're still viewed. We're trying to promote ourselves as a wiki for everyone, but I think we are still viewed as an expert wiki. That means something where you need some expertise to be able to use it. And I think that's something that we're dragging behind for a long time, from a long time ago, and it's hard to shake that off. But we're still a bit too complex, and it still requires quite a lot of knowledge. So there are still little wrinkles everywhere. For the past, for example, for the past 3 days, I've been working on documentation for XWiki.org, moving stuff around, and I've hit so many little issues. I was really not happy about XWiki at some point because there are little wrinkles that block my workflow. And I'm technical. I know how it's done, how it's coded, how to work around them. So I can only imagine that users, what they would be, what they would feel, especially if they don't know how to work around those issues that happen. So I think we're not there yet on this aspect. What do you think?
Well, I know that when I began to start working with XWiki, I also saw the kind of problems like with documentations or anything. But what I really like is that I can see during the past month, the community, we are trying to drive the project with caring a bit more for its users. Like, for example, we launched a forum.xwiki.org that is maybe from a UI point of view more usable than what we had on the user mailing list. And now we are trying to do meetups. And so for me, it's really nice because, first of all, it allows us to see each other. And that's not something we do like every time. And also, we are caring about what the user think about XWiki more and more. And one of the great qualities of the project that we could enhance, and I think we are doing so right now, is getting more and more community feedback. That's something that is not really. If you take a look at open source project, that's done in some project, but not in every project. For example, I know because I had this experience like 3 months ago, I think. With MediaWiki, we don't have that kind of feedback, and we could that could be something that is a plus for XWiki, like the really showing up that the developers are close to the users and taking care of them.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do have some quite a lot of feedbacks through the various forums on XWiki.org. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Clément.
Yeah.
They are interesting. We have quite a lot. I think the main issue we have at the moment is that we are on average, we are about, I would say, 5 active developers that work on it on an everyday basis almost.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit less, maybe actually. But let's say if you take a month, on a month average, there are about 5 persons who contribute to XWiki, I'd say. And it's interesting. I mean, you can move forward with that, but it's not also great. I mean, if we were like 20, that would be different.
Yeah, sure.
And so there's only so much that we can do also, indeed. And one issue, Keith, that's maybe interesting for you also. I don't know if you've ever looked at the difference between the XWiki open source project and the XWiki company, XWiki.com company. I don't know if you've wondered about that in the past. Have you? Oh, Keith?
Yeah.
We lost him?
He's muted.
Yeah, he's not listening. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that yeah, it was mostly for Keith actually. What I wanted to say is that we have a lot of a lot of users, and it's growing, but not in terms of contributors. So that's going to be hard to quickly solve all of those usability issues. So we are progressing, but I think the pace, I mean, it could be greater.
What's nice with the Hangouts is that you can see the person live, so
you like
you can, yeah, you understand better. But regarding what Clement says, it's always hard to know how big is the community, how much of the answers you would pick from them. I mean, in order to implement a feature or to change something, you would need 5 people saying that they want that, or 500, or it's kind of hard to parse those answers. But as long as they provide feedback, that's great. As long you know that there's a problem.
Are you still there, Keith? No, I lost you.
I'm here. I'm having an audio trouble right now.
Ah, you're back. Okay, because I was trying to talk to you, or you're on, and we lost you. I was. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was wondering whether you ever wondered yourself about the relationship between the XWiki open source project and the XWiki.com company. We call it XWiki SAS. Have you ever wondered about that, or did you know the difference? Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. In fact, I was sitting there thinking that earlier when we started this, like, how does all that work?
Yeah, and you figured it out, or you don't know? You still don't know?
I really don't know.
Okay. The what we've tried to do from the beginning, we've tried to establish having a real community and doing a community-driven project as much as possible. I don't know if you felt this through the emails that you receive. So we modeled the open source project by copying a bit what the Apache Software Foundation is doing. So we've got this committership where people have voted, and the rules, the governance for XWiki org, etc. So we've separated completely from the XWiki SS company, because a lot of us are sponsored by this company to work on this open source project. But we've tried to separate those, having a complete separation, so that other people can contribute to the project and don't feel that this is completely owned by the company. It's a project with its own life. If the company goes away, then the project still exists, and there's still people, and it's still open source, and with its own rules and everything. What we'd like to do on this topic is to set up a foundation so that it asserts even more its independence from that company. But we've yet to do this. And what I wanted to mention, I have one question for you, by the way. So this for XWiki SAS, this is the company that's making its living. It's living on services, support, professional services, hosting, this kind of stuff. Okay, on top of XWiki. Now, what we've observed is that the vast majority of people using XWiki don't pay anything up for it. They take the open source part, and they don't take any services from that company, etc. And we found that it's hard, and it can be sometimes hard to actually invest more and more in the product. We want to grow that product. We want to have more developers, but it's hard because the balance is really shifted on the side of everything for free. And not a lot of people are contributing either code or money for the project. So one direction that we've been thinking about and you may have noticed that, is by starting to propose some paying extensions for XWiki. I don't know if you've noticed that. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't.
No? Okay. At the moment, there are only two. If you go on extensions.xwiki.org on the page, you see there are two listed, one for Active Directory and one for Only Office. The one for Only Office is if you want to be able to directly edit any kind of Word, Excel, or presentation, PowerPoint documents directly inside your wiki. You can attach them to wiki pages if you have existing docs like this, and then anyone can go to the pages and do edit, make modification, and they're updated on the page. So we have two at the moment, and I think one direction that we'd like to pursue is to continue having more paying extensions. Would you as a user already using XWiki, would you see that as an issue on your side?
No, I think that's a good way to go.
Okay.
We might even have some use, especially if we ever roll this out to more than just the IT staff. The Only Office one could be useful to us. And I mean, the pricing looks okay for us.
Yeah. Well, we've put a really low. We think we've put a really low price because we wanted to see it's the beginning of this. We're just starting this, and we wanted to see. We didn't want that the price to be a problem, a blocker. We wanted to see people if there are people interested at first.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting to know. Because I'm mentioning this because I'm planning to prepare an email and to send some discussion on the dev list of XWiki to mention this kind of thing in the coming weeks and see if the community how the community reacts and see if that's possible. Okay, anyone else wants to say something, or Keith, any question you have?
Not really. No, I mean, one thing I would like to see down the road, I'd be willing to possibly even help out with how this is developed, is I still feel like there's no real guided way to do upgrades. We've got one that works for us. And basically what we do is we put the web-inf folder in a Git repo.
Okay.
And so every time we upgrade, we drop in the whole new application, and then we just do a diff on each of those files that change. And we've learned to know which ones to revert, which ones are our settings we've changed, and which ones are new. But sometimes it doesn't work. Like this last go around, there was a change to, I don't know, their filter settings of some kind were removed or added, and it broke the application temporarily. I fixed it quickly, and I've got pretty good at it, but I would imagine somebody who's new to the project trying to do upgrades. Well, just to give you an example, right now I'm the senior developer. I'm pretty experienced at doing this kind of stuff, and I'm pretty good at. I can do the upgrades now, and unless I run into a problem, about 15 minutes. But I've tried to roll it out to some of my more junior developers, and even they hit any hiccup at all, they get stuck really easy. And I'd like to see. I think that might also help with. You're talking about getting more installs out there. I would imagine there's some amount, I don't know how many, that might try the product and then because of something like that get discouraged and move away from it because
that's interesting. It's interesting because it's not what you're doing is not the recommended way.
I know.
Actually, we have a guided upgrade system. So normally the strategy is you have your wiki installed somewhere. So it depends what install you use. Have you used the manual war install?
Yes.
Okay. So no, you had it somewhere. So normally the strategy is you download the new war. It depends what install you use. Have you used the manual war install? I can hear myself. That's probably hi Thomas. Somewhere. So normally the strategy. You download the new WAR. So you download the WAR, the new one, you expand it, okay, and then you link it to your permanent directory, and then you start it. And when you start it, and you link to your database, of course. But when you start it, you should get the distribution wizard, and this is our guided way of doing the upgrade. And the distribution wizard will go through several screens to upgrade your pages with the new version, do a merge, and all of this without you having to do anything. There's no need to diff the lib, the web in flip, for example, or any kind of this. But there still remains the diff. Maybe that's what you were mentioning. You still mean if there are changes done, for example, in XWiki CFG or XWiki properties files, then you want to keep your changes from the previous version, you still need to do the diff there. I can't hear you. I don't know why.
Sorry, my fault.
Okay.
I turned it muted because I thought the echo was my fault. So one of the basic things we always have to carry over is like our database configuration. I mean, how else would you? Because we use MySQL. I don't know what it uses by default, but we use MySQL, and how you got to get those part of that config in there somehow, right? I mean, how else would you do that?
That's the Hibernate CFG.xml file, yeah, for connecting XWiki to the database, yes. But you have to do that once already. When you do the upgrade, you don't need to change that.
Well, when you say do the upgrade, but that file is in the...
Yeah, you need to copy over. That's one issue. There are three files, or a bit more actually, that you need to copy over into the new WAR.
Right. And that's kind of where, and so that's where we developed what we have now is for that particular, we still get the distribution wizard, and generally the changes we carry over are the MySQL database config. We still are using the old method of the LDAP settings in there. I know that you can do that in the UI now, right? There's a way to do that in the UI.
There is with the LDAP application.
Right, but I just have never.
Or the Active Directory application, yeah.
The LDAP extension is one we're using, and we still use the settings that are in the config file. I don't know which one that one is, but we still use that. We have not migrated those into doing it through the application.
Okay, so I get you. So the upgrade of the wiki pages is not the issue for you anymore, thanks to the distribution wizard. But what we could still improve is the part that comes before that for the merging of the configuration files and all the configuration in general. Got you. Yeah.
One way, and this is just like some applications I use is to separate out those settings that have to be like that, like where you could have a file that's not in your application. You could have it point to another location where I keep a config settings of all my database settings, anything that's not that I know for sure it's going to carry over. But I know that can be hard too because sometimes those config settings change. Rarely nowadays, right? But that might be one way to do it, just to separate out just those settings.
I would love to do that. I would love that we extract out from the WAR all the config files. Well, we could have them there as a default,
right.
If they're not overwritten, then default to those ones. But I would love that they be in the permanent directory, for example.
Sure.
So that everything you've put there, you carry it when you upgrade, and you don't need to care about them.
Right. That sounds exactly what I'm talking about. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Also, one idea, and I'm not really sure if it's doable, but we have Thomas that is here, and maybe he has the knowledge to answer my question. Is that we could work on doing like a one-click upgrade button, and that automatically downloads the new version, the new WAR of XWiki, and puts it in the correct directory. Of course, we need to have permissions for that, but maybe it could be an easier way to upgrade XWiki. Like you don't even have to get an SSH access to the machine in order to upgrade. You just have to click, and we can take care of doing backups or something. But it will be like really nicer for the user.
Yeah, it depends on the distribution you use, but it's hard to do it because each distribution has its own mechanism, and we need to build that in. But it can be done with some of them. With the Docker one, it can be done. I guess, Thomas, with the Debian one, we could do something, I guess, also.
You don't need to do anything in the Debian one. You already have the system.
Yeah, for
Upgrade
right
managed by Debian. So that's the one where.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It's already there in Debian. There is a merge of the config files already.
Yes.
On this one? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So Keith, you need to use the Debian the apt method.
Oh, what is that?
We've got because you're using the war mechanism for installing and upgrading, but we've improved that since a long time ago, and there is an apt Debian way of through apt get and apt upgrade, etc.
If you use Debian.
Yeah.
Ubuntu.
Yeah, the problem is that not anyone uses Debian. Maybe we could like do packages for CentOS.
Well, if you do, then it's only one line, and you get the upgrade done for you.
Yeah, that's true. I know that some sysadmins don't want to like link the service that is running on a specific server to the apt system, because they might do auto apt upgrades, and they don't want to auto upgrade the main application they're working on. So do we have stats about that using the Active Installs application?
You mean about distribution they use? Yes.
Yeah, because it's interesting if they use Debian. It's interesting.
There's a lot of Debian installs actually.
Actually, let me give you the link. That could be interesting for Keith also to know that we have that.
And it's not. You need to keep in mind that it's actually pretty new, the fact that we separate the distributions. So there's a lot of Debian plus some hidden Debian distributions.
Okay. So I've put a link on the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. So you've got some stats there, and you can see a few things. The version, the distribution.
Okay, we have 22% from Debian.
We have how many you said?
22%.
123 on the distribution using the Debian distribution.
Actually, it's at least 22.
No, sorry, it's more. It's more. With 443, there are two. Why is there two, Thomas? There's distribution Debian Common and enterprise installer Debian Common.
Yeah, because it's not the same now. You have XWiki Enterprise and XWiki since 9.
Okay. So that's the new one.
That's the same distribution.
Okay.
The same for all. It's the same for the war, etc. But it's actually more than what you see in this because it's very new, the fact that we separate distributions, kind of distributions. Mm-hmm. And you have to take a big portion of what is actually indicated as a war install as being actually older Debian installs.
Okay.
But people tend to upgrade more with the Debian distribution because they just apt-get upgrade.
So it means that there is about 40% of 40 to 50%. That's quite a lot. A bit less, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, if we have 40% of installs like using the apt system, and I don't think it's really needed to implement this kind of features. But if we have like 70% of installs that are based on the war, for example, it could be really nice because, yeah, it's just easier.
So Keith, you know what to do now when you get some when you want to have some fun. Well, one rule, of course, is not to change something that works, right?
Yeah.
You're mute. You're mute.
My headset quit working, so I'm having to do this manually.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to giving that a shot at some point, but I have to add that to my long list of things I'd like to do.
Okay.
Yeah, well, one thing we could do, and it's something that we are already doing somehow in the installation guide, is like provide a step-by-step kind of script with commands like, for example, if we say just copy the XWiki platform, the XWiki properties file to the new location. We just provide the CP, old destination, new destination. I know that it's something that is done in other projects. I know that it's on GitLab because I follow a lot.
You're talking about the war distribution, the war method?
Yeah, the war.
We have that in the guide, I think. Let me find it. I think we have that. By the way, Cathy and I have worked on the documentation and the guides on XWiki.org for the past 3 days. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at them. Feedback would be welcome. Installation, and then war installation.
Yeah, it's some mode on. We don't have the full like. List of commands to use, but
oh, there are some bugs actually in there that I need to fix. Yeah, no, I remember there were somewhere, but it's not there directly on the guide. We also had that for XWiki.org itself, but I remember seeing it also somewhere, but I can't find it right now. Okay, anyway. Anyway, yeah, we know that we need to also move out the configuration files outside of the war, so that would help a lot. This is what the Debian does, I guess.
Yeah, it's using the configuration in the etc directory.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have to check. But I think that by default, if you install the war and then you add new XWiki properties files in the good subdirectory in the etc directory, like etc XWiki and XWiki properties, the instance will automatically check for this file. I'm not sure. Maybe we could. No, Thomas is not here. But I think that it's something that is done by default now.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. I think we should wrap it up. It's almost 1 hour already. I think it's good for a first meeting. I hope we can get more people next time. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, since we just talked about configuration and all the hard parts of getting XWiki up and running, there's also the cloud option of trying XWiki, especially for new users. It's not something specifically about the project. Yeah, it's done by the XWiki as company, but it's easy to try XWiki if you're a new user. You don't have to go through all this mess, because some users are intimidated by the installation. Even for Windows installations, I've heard a lot of problems, even setting up Java and stuff like that. And that's usually an adoption problem for XWiki, because it's based on Java. And getting Java hosting is not as easy as PHP hosting, and that's available everywhere.
Yeah, we've got the cloud for that, but we also got the Docker images.
Exactly. Yeah. So there are some alternatives.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Anyone wants to say anything else? No.
No, I mean, thanks for y'all doing this today.
Thanks for joining. You're saving us. You're the only user here.
We are user too.
Yeah, we are user too, but someone who is not also a part of the development team.
Yeah, maybe we should try to we try to advertise this a bit, but I don't know if we can use
So last question, Keith. What would you be interested in those meetings? What would you be interested in talking about? Were you just curious? Is that why you joined the meeting, or or do you want to talk about something specific? Or what do you think the format should be for the next ones?
Well, today I was really just curious. I think that, even having some of the discussions we had today about like the difficulties we have, brought out some information I didn't know, or discussing, new features, I think is always helpful just to get some feedback. But I'm really open to whatever. I think that this has been really helpful to me because it helps me understand a little bit more. Like even their comment about what your focus was early on to what you're doing, what is today, helped me understand a little bit about the process better. So I don't have a really specific format. I certainly, if we get noticed ahead of time, I'll try to think of some things to throw out as ideas we could discuss beforehand.
Okay, great. Great, so thank you, everyone. Thomas, you just joined. You want to say some parting word? No? Okay, great. So thanks, everyone. Bye. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.